What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to this evening's late night agenda, which isn't so late at 7 o'clock, but we can't rename the show just because we're coming on a little bit earlier. Well, maybe we could, but we're not going to. There you go. There's the stubbornness coming through with me. How are we all, ladies and gentlemen? I hope you're well. I will be, of course, over at Mundo Sporto doing a watch along of City against PSG from 7:45, so I hope you'll be over there to join me for that one. And look, there's loads of things for us to get through on tonight's stream. The interest around Jadon Sancho was upping, but not just from Liverpool, so I will spell that out in a few minutes as well. The Canade stuff is all done and dusted. I got confirmation of that again today. A medical will take place when the season's over, and any little formalities, that'll be all tied up, and he will become a Liverpool player. There's a few other bits and pieces as well, but I'll go through it all. Any questions you have, as always, ladies and gentlemen, I'm more than happy to answer them if I can. Whack them into the chat and we'll try and get through them as best that we can. How are things? I'm all good. I'm good, George. How are you, mate? Nice to see you in. Again, people will start coming in. They see we're a bit early. They're used to the 8:30. So I like this process. This reminds me of the old days where we used to go live and we'd come on and we just watch the numbers slowly build up. But it's great to get people in early. And if you've anything you want to ask, again, I'll hang off from going straight into my spiel about everything till the chat builds up a bit, because nobody wants me going over stuff 5 and 6 times. But lovely to see you all in as always, and I hope that you're good. Nat is back in training. Yes, Jake. And again, Joe Gomez pictured in training today with Virgil van Dijk doing a little bit of ball work away from the main group, which is good to see. Those lads stepping up their rehab, always a bonus. Very good, thank you, Darren. I hope you're well, mate. Nice to see you in. What's up, Soham? Love your videos, thank you. Oh, I said love you too, buddy. Thank you. Do you think Elliot is ready? Yes, I do. And again, there aren't many positives to be had out of thinking about the Europa League, but as I said on a couple of streams, the likes of Harvey Elliott, Nico Williams, Queeveen Kelleher, they will get opportunities if Liverpool end up in the Europa League. And again, it's really important to remember, and I have to admit that I had to pull myself up on this one because I kind of made a bit of a judgment error. I forgot that the African Cup of Nations is coming up in January, ladies and gentlemen. So I forgot that Liverpool are going to be losing Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, and Naby Keita for that. So the more I think about this, the more I believe that Harvey Elliott will stay with the full squad next season and will come back to Liverpool and try and fight for a place, because we will be without those guys for at least a month in January. So, you know, add to that the list of players we've been linked with in the transfer window, which again, I'm happy to go through. If anyone has any questions about anything in particular, put it into the chat and we'll do our best to go through it. But I suppose you're wondering what the whole thumbnail and the title of the stream is about. Well, basically, an article that Melissa Reddy wrote, or at least quotes attributed to Melissa Reddy, who's a fantastic journalist. I urge you to read anything Melissa Reddy does. She's one of the best out there. But it was about Liverpool originally wanting to go for a generational talent in the transfer market, and that we had been cautious in previous windows because we had hoped to go big on a generational talent, is, I believe, the phrase Melissa used in her article. Now, the part that annoys me is not something that Melissa did. It's something that we hear every damn transfer window, and that's, we were going to do this, but X and Y happened, and now this is going to happen. So I don't want to hear any excuses about COVID, about football being off during the pandemic, about money that's been lost by the club. The owners need to step the fuck up now, and they need to back Jurgen Klopp in this transfer window. And whether that is with a Jadon Sancho, a Raphina, a Canade, a Kabak, a Neto, Rodrigo de Paul, whoever you want, whatever names you want to add to the list, fair enough, we can debate them till we're blue in the face. But at the end of the day, I do not want to hear the phrase, we have no money, because I'm sick of hearing that as a Liverpool fan. I'm sick of being told we have to cut our cloth accordingly. We're all well aware of that. We're all well aware that we have to live within our means. But this is a summer where there are players that are going to be available with less clubs interested in them because they haven't got the finances, and we're after getting a massive cash injection, or at least I say we, I mean our owners have, when they sold off 10% to Red Ball Corp. So I want to see some activity in the transfer window, and I am sick of nickel and diming, and I'm sick of having to rely on moving on Mohamed Salah or Sadio Mane or Roberto Firmino or Felipe Coutinho or whoever you want to add to that list. It's time that we actually go and start acting like a decent club, and we go out in that transfer window, give the manager the money, and let him get who he needs, because this squad is in transition. This squad is getting to a point where when Jurgen Klopp leaves in 2024, and let's hope he leaves us on a high, which I'm sure he will, he's always said he wants to leave the squad ready for the next manager to come in and ready to continue with success. And I believe he truly does want that. So how do we go about doing that? Well, we look to do what we've done. We bring in the likes of Musialowski, we bring in Harvey Elliott, we bring in young players who are promising in talent. But we need to mix in a little sprinkling of stardust there, and we've been very good at doing that at times with the likes of the Mohamed Salah transfer, Diogo Jota, players who are coming in, and at the time people are questioning, have we overpaid? But they turn out to be absolute gems. So I think whatever around Jadon Sancho, and he may go to Manchester United, he may go to Chelsea, he may go to Liverpool. That is still on the table, and he's not the be-all and end-all. But in a summer when Haaland's available, Mbappe's available, Sancho's available, Kane might be available, Aguero's available on a free, we're going to lose Gini Wijnaldum. There's so many players available this summer, and a lot of clubs are struggling. A lot of clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona, Juventus mightn't have the financial resources. So if there's any way on earth that we can get that generational talent that Melissa already spoke of, this is the summer to do it. And as Liverpool fans, we are so fed up of being told we've got no fucking money. Every single transfer window, we hear the same phrase: we've got no money, we've got to cut the cloth accordingly, we pay out a lot on wages. We're fed up of hearing it. It's time to act. It's time to go out there and give Klopp the tools that he needs to really make a sustained charge for the next 2, 3, 4 years, and not to be relying on having to sell Salah, Mane or Firmino. Now, if Klopp wants to move one of those players on, or one of those players themselves want to move on, then that's absolutely fine. Nobody that doesn't want to be at the club should be kept here. But I'm just getting fed up. I'm getting fed up of it. Every single window, we see the TV money, we see the money for the Champions League, we see the money for where we finish in the Premier League, we see the Nike sponsorship, we see all the match day revenue that we normally have, we see all the commercial partnerships, and yet we're all still told we're broke. Every single window we're told the same thing. Well, we were going to do this, but this happened. Well, you know, if ever there was a summer that the owners need to get their finger out of their arse and make a statement, this is it. Because they've already shit the bed with regards to a load of stuff over the past year. The furloughing of staff, obviously the Super League proposals, Project Big Picture. If you want to win back any favouritism from the fans, if they genuinely do give a shit about us and what we care about this football club and wanting it to succeed, and not just build a collective of other franchises as they used when they were talking at a Major League Baseball conference from one of the FSG hierarchy, we're talking about adding to the collection of clubs and franchises that they have. How about just making sure that we're able to continue to win titles, and your other assets like the Red Sox, how about making sure that we can continue to challenge? Rather than trying to increase your own profits over and over and over again, how about giving us the tools for sustainable success? That's what we need right now. So that's what I want to talk about tonight, folks. Is Dembele injury prone? He has had a bad injury, one really bad injury in particular, and a couple of other bits and pieces. But he seems to be getting back to his best. For anyone who doesn't know, Jose Mourinho's been appointed the Roma manager. Yeah, it makes me laugh. It really does make me laugh. Only in football can a manager constantly get fired, get 50 million quid from it, and walk into another job then. After, by the way, Mourinho, the rat. And I am going to call him a rat right now, because he signed up to work with the Sun over the summer. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but he's a pundit for them for the Euro. So, firstly, he can go fuck himself for that one. And then secondly, he's refusing to apparently even go over, from what I've read, to Roma until all of these obligations that he signed up for, i.e. till he gets all those paydays over the summer with the Euros and stuff. So let him go to Serie A, let him go to a club that are going nowhere fast and will continue to go nowhere fast under his stewardship. But once I seen that he'd signed up to work with that rag of a newspaper over the Euros, I lost any lingering respect I had for Mourinho, went out the window. So he can go to Serie A and retire over there, because he's finished as a manager. Liverpool should sign Bissouma. Yes, look, definitely interest there. I'm going to keep reiterating that. Now, I went bold last week and I told you that Canade was a done deal. I told you that was going to happen, which it will. As I said at the start of the video, everything's ready to go. Medical at the end of the season, everything's been agreed. A few little loose bits to tie up, but barring a major catastrophe, Canade's a done deal. So then we do look to the midfield position, where you've rightly said Bissouma, somebody who we're looking at, but we're not the only ones. His performances haven't gone unnoticed from major clubs around Europe and in the Premier League. So I do think we'll be in the race for Bissouma, and the more I read into it, the more I look into it, I think he genuinely is high up on the list of priorities. He's the right age bracket for me. He's enough experience, and what I've seen of him playing for Brighton, I've been very, very impressed with him, so I'd have no issues on that one. Sancho's going to Man United. You see, here's the thing. He's not. Now, I'm not saying he won't. I'm not saying there isn't a chance he'll end up at United, but again, I've reached out to United journalists. I've reached out to well-known Manchester United fans on this one, and the theory is that yes, Manchester United are interested in him, as we know they were all of last year when they shit the bed and they couldn't get him. And there is a gentleman's agreement in place that Jadon Sancho will leave Dortmund at the end of this summer if conditions are met, i.e. if the right money comes in. And from what I know, Liverpool, Manchester United and Chelsea are interested in the player. Take from that what you want. I'm not saying he's going to end up anywhere in particular, but don't be so arrogant as to say he's going to end up at United when nobody knows where he'll end up. I'm not arrogant enough to say he's going to end up at Liverpool, nor am I arrogant enough to believe that he may not end up at United or Chelsea. He could. All three good clubs, they can all make a case, they can all pay a good wage, and they can all make a sporting merit reason as to why Jadon Sancho should go there. So I'm not arrogant enough to think that it's Liverpool or nowhere, but I do laugh when United fans think they have some fucking moral obligation or right to a player. He owes you nothing. You shit the bed last year when you tried to sign him. You couldn't get it over the line. Whether he goes there again or not, I don't know. We'll wait and see. But all I ever do is just bring you the news that I get, the articles that I read, and we talk about them. Is the Super League still happening? I honestly don't think we've heard the end of it. That's from my understanding of the subject, from people I've spoken to, both journalists and people within the football industry, as well as fans, of course, as well. I don't think we've heard the end of this. Now, whether the English clubs can be drawn back to the table and what happens with regards to the legal documents that they signed, that all has to be played out, and we will see that played out. But I hope to God that our owners aren't stupid enough to try and pull this stroke again, because they've seen the backlash, they've seen that football fans in England won't stand for it. We won't stand for a closed off system with no relegation, no promotion, and no getting into the competition on merit. It's just not something that sits well with us. But even saying that, the redone Champions League has basically given a lot of the guarantees that the Super League would have. Maybe not purely from a financial perspective, but from qualifying for the tournament, we know that those who finish in the top 8 positions of the new Champions League, which is what it will be, a 36-team league where everybody plays 10 games, 5 home, 5 away, against their varying levels of opposition based on their coefficient rankings from UEFA. Now, the top 8 in that league automatically qualify for next season's tournament, and then there are other qualification criteria based on legacy and a few other bits and pieces. So they've already kind of got this whole thing about, well, do well in the Champions League and you're guaranteed to be in there next year, which kind of takes away from the Premier League, because if a manager so wished, he could put all his eggs in the Champions League basket from 2024, know that he'd have happy owners making sure they're in the competition every year, and it could very easily neglect the Premier League. So I'm a little bit surprised at how that's actually come about, but not surprised from the perspective of knowing what the owners of all these clubs wanted. We were recently linked with a keeper from Turkey. Yes, we've been linked to, it's Ergücün Kakir, I'm guessing, Norman, that you're talking about, mate, the Trabzonspor goalkeeper. And the really odd thing is, we've been linked with him for like at least 2 years that I can think of, and there is no reason for us not to go and get him as a backup or to challenge Alisson. Now, whatever you think about Caoimhín Kelleher, that's a whole another thing, and I genuinely believe that Caoimhín can make the step up, but I also think he could do it alone. And then we've of course got Gianluigi Pitaluga, but yeah, that Ergücün Kakir link is one that just will not go away, buddy. I've seen prices ranging from 15 million a few years ago right up to 30, 35 million now, and I'm guessing that that's the keeper you're talking about. What's happening with Sunday's game? There's still no time scale of when it'll be played. I mean, I've looked at both teams' fixture schedules, as I'm sure you guys have, and it's jam-packed, and it really is going to be very difficult to see where Liverpool and United can squeeze this game in. I know that there was a few people saying that they read through the rule book, and if Liverpool had have asked to be awarded the 3 points, there was a chance that could have happened, but I don't think there's any appetite from anybody for this not to be played out on the pitch, because Fans want to see the game played on the pitch. Sky, obviously, who've paid a lot of money for the TV rights, they're going to want to see the game played. And I'm sure the two clubs as well, behind the scenes, will want to see the game played on the pitch and not anybody awarded 3 points. None of us wants that to happen. But again, short answer is, mate, nobody knows yet. What else we got? Which midfielder do you think will sign? Honestly, I could be wrong on this, but I'm mentally putting a lot of my eggs in the Basuma basket. But I don't think that that's because I've got information that I'm not passing on. It's nothing like that. It's just he ticks a lot of them boxes for me when I look at what we would need to come in. Now, that's if we're looking for a very Gini Wijnaldum type midfielder, somebody who can get the ball, keep the ball, move the ball, protect the ball, break a line, play in a few different positions in midfield. But there is also an argument then for more attacking flair. So, for instance, James Pearce made a very good point. Let me just read. Connor sent to me a quote from James Pearce. Let me just read this out, and this will kind of give you an idea about the attacking intent. So he said, there isn't enough high calibre attacking backups. Look at Origi, Shaqiri, Oxlade-Chamberlain. They haven't scored a single Premier League goal between them this season. That has to be addressed in the summer. It's a really good point by James Pearce there. Like, think about that. Again, think about this in the cold hard light of day. Origi, Shaqiri and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, 3 players who are on relatively good wages at Liverpool, 3 players who, for varying reasons, haven't got going over the past years, injuries and form or whatever, but not one goal, not one Premier League goal between those 3 guys, and they're the backup to what we have available from an attacking perspective. James Pearce is right, that's just not good enough and it's not acceptable, and it does need to be addressed in the summer, which is why the links to the likes of anybody from Pedro Neto, Raphina, all the way through to Jadon Sancho, the unrealistic stuff like Mbappe of course as well, Daniel Malin, Patson Daka, who, as I said to you guys, will probably take the step from Salzburg to Leipzig, with Jesse Marsch, the manager that's stepping up there to replace Julian Nagelsmann. They're all entirely gettable, and they're all entirely reasonable price wise as well. Of course, Sancho and that's different. That's another level where we'd have to get some actual investment in the playing squad. And yeah, we can't get Sancho if Chelsea want him. Look, you know, I made an argument yesterday as to why you could easily pitch Liverpool as a destination ahead of Manchester United for Sancho. Now, people may disagree with me on that, but my gist of the argument was, if we can match on wages, which we really couldn't if United really pushed hard, but if we could match on wages and you say, do you want to come play for Solskjaer, do you want to come play for Klopp, I honestly don't think that there's a decision there. But that's just me, and I am biased. But if you throw Chelsea into the mix, they are a formidable club to be a proposition for a young player like Jadon Sancho at the minute. I mean, they're bringing through younger players. Their attacking talent is unbelievably good. They've got a very good manager in now, and Thomas Tuchel. They're in the Champions League semi-final. They will be fighting it for the Premier League next season, and they're a club that's moving in the right direction. So I can understand how that would be appealing to Jadon Sancho. And you're right, we probably wouldn't be able to match the financials if they stepped in. So I guess, like everybody else, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But it's fair to say that that they would be a big headache for us and Manchester United if both clubs went after Sancho. What's your thoughts on Minamino? Stay or go? I can't see how he stays. That's the short answer. When he goes to Southampton, you hope that we see him doing what we hoped he'd do at Liverpool. And to a small extent, he's done it on a few glimpses. But something's obviously happening that Ralph Hasenhüttl doesn't feel that he's earned enough starting berths or enough minutes on the pitch. Maybe through his performances in training, I don't know, but I can't see I can't see how he ends up back at Liverpool. I really can't. I think maybe a move to Spain, maybe a move to Germany. I don't know. Maybe he'll join up with Dortmund. I have no idea. Maybe he'll go to Leipzig. Maybe I don't know, but I just can't see how he gets back to Liverpool. And look, it's a transfer that will make a profit on, I'm sure. But yeah, I can't see it happening. I think 100 million for Sancho is a tad expensive. But football is mad these days and the figures are ridiculous. Yeah, look, we're seeing varying prices for Jadon Sancho from the €100 million mark down as low as maybe 85 million euro. He says as low as, like, I know it's astronomical sums for us mere mortals, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But there you go. But I just want to reiterate, for those that keep asking me about Canade, it is done. There's a medical going to take place at the end of the season. All the formalities of the contract have been pretty much agreed at this point. It's just the fact that he still has a season to finish up with Leipzig. We still have our season to finish up. Leipzig have a cup final as well to look forward to. So don't worry about Canade. That's done. From what I've been led to believe as well, I still think the club haven't made a decision on Ozan Kabak. My own personal belief is that I'd like to see him signed. I've really grown to the idea of us perhaps going to a 3 at the back next season and going for a 3-5-2 or some variation of that. Sancho would need to be a starter, one of the front three going. You see, this is what, I won't say winds me up, but I've already explained that we're going to be without Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah and Naby Keita for a month in January. That's before Salah comes back late if he goes to the Olympics, possibly with Egypt. And that's before any injuries. So I don't think he'll look at it. I hope at least he wouldn't, or any player, whether it be a Raphina or a Neto, wouldn't look at it and go, there's players there already. There's enough games for everybody, and you can keep everybody happy if you're winning. So Sancho, Jota, Firmino, Mane, Salah, they can rotate those. They can put 3 of those in and change them around and play certain people at certain weeks, give people a rest, and then, as I said, when Salah, Mane and all are at the African Cup of Nations, these players will get a chance to prove themselves even more. So I like to think that they back themselves. In fact, I wouldn't want any player to come to Liverpool if they're too scared of fighting for their place, which is something that I had read about Usain Edouard. I've no idea how true that is or not, but I'd read that he was put off the idea of coming to Liverpool because he doesn't feel like he'll be able to push his way in. Well, I don't want any player at the club that doesn't feel like they're able to back themselves. Diogo Jota came in and he showed from minute one that he was backing himself, that he knew he was good enough and that he was going to force his way into the team, and he absolutely has. And there's no worries from us about who plays. They rotate, people get rested. We've seen this season that we basically cannot have too many players. We've been down to the bare bones in defence, even the midfield, an area that we have looked stacked in this season when it comes down to the business end, and we've got no leadership. Gini, he's been a very good consistent player for us, but given the armband has done nothing from a captain's point of view, and we've relied on Jimmy Milner, who has been sensational when he's come in over the past few weeks to lead that team. But we need Jordan Henderson, and we need leaders out there on the pitch, so the more players we can get in of a high calibre, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Do you think Sancho will join Liverpool and Chamberlain to Dortmund? I honestly have no idea where Sancho will end up. All I'm going to say is that Liverpool, Chelsea and United are interested in him. The player will have his own preferences, I'm sure. The clubs will all probably pitch him different variations of where they think he'll fit in and how he'll work in their system, and I honestly don't know where we'll end up. Well, let's just wait and see what happens. All I can do is tell you we're interested, but sure, who wouldn't be interested when a player like that is going to be available in the summer? Hands off Raf. It's not just us you have to worry about there, John, if you're a Leeds fan worrying about Raphina. I mean, Manchester City's name have been bandied around as well as being linked with Raphina, so it's not just us. Sean Burke said Dusan Vlahovic has scored twice the other day. Yes, Fiorentina player, 21 years of age, who is another name that has been linked along with Malin, mate, as a potential attacking option for Liverpool. Neuhaus. The more I look into Neuhaus, the more I'm unsure about it, particularly when you have comments attributed to somebody from Borussia Mönchengladbach basically saying that the release clause won't get him. I don't know if you've read these or not, but there are comments out there that said that it will take an immoral, I believe is the actual phrase, an immoral amount of money to get Neuhaus out of Borussia Mönchengladbach, and that they plan to have a very good squad next season. Now, I can sit here and be arrogant and go, but he has a release clause. Well, so did Luis Suarez, and our owners told Arsenal to get fucked when they came in for him. So if it's going to be a headache, move on. Get Bissouma, get somebody else. Thoughts on Milner's future? I think the manager will keep around for another year if Jimmy Milner is okay with limited game time, because let's be honest, he's a fantastic fella to have around the club. The manager knows he can rely on him, and he's a professional through and through, and a great senior head to have around. Now, if Jimmy Milner wants to finish his career by playing week in and week out, like I've always said, pat the man on the back, say thank you for your service to the club, James. We wish you the best with the rest of your career, mate, and may he go wherever he wants to go, because at his age, with all he's accomplished in the game, he deserves that choice. So I think the choice will be James Milner's. I can see Neto in a Liverpool shirt, said Ali 45. Again, somebody who I would have no problems with coming to Liverpool, mate. And who are your 5 realistic signings this summer? I'd like Kabak Kanade, so that's 2. I'd love Basuma. The more I watch it from, the more I want him at Liverpool. So that's 3. I mean, Sancho is realistic, but I wouldn't be putting any money on it yet. I do like Daniel Malin from PSV. As I said, the more I've watched him, the more I see that little something about him that makes me think he can push on to the next level. So if we could go with that, and then let's say, depending on who goes out, maybe another attacking midfielder, somebody of the ilk of Houssem Aouar, or maybe roll the dice and you go for a younger player. Maybe you go for Gravenbercher, or maybe you go for the young lad who's is it Ron? I keep forgetting the young French dude's name. But yeah, there's a lot of talent out there, so there's no shortage of players available either in this window. But I want to get your opinion on something really quickly, ladies and gentlemen. We've got about 8 minutes left before I have to finish up. Is there anything to be said for sticking a little sneaky bit in for Sergio Aguero? No, I know there's a couple of things that go against us here. I know that maybe he won't want to play for a rival of City's after being there and being a club legend and doing what he's achieved at City, which have been phenomenal. I know that he's injury prone, but I also know he's a big game player, and the goal, you just see the goal he scored for City at the weekend. It is just prime Aguero. He's still a fox in the box. He's still a goal scoring machine. And you know what? I wouldn't say no. I really wouldn't. Even with his injury record, he just, I don't know, if you limit him to 20 games a season, to me he'd be worth it. He's just quality. What about Odegaard and Daka? Daka, I believe, again, from what I'm reading and what I'm being told, could probably end up at Leipzig with the manager that's going up from Salzburg to replace Julian Nagelsmann, who's going to Bayern Munich at the end of the season. So again, we'll have to wait on that one. Aguero to Barca, said R1. Can they afford his wages? Can they afford to sign an on fee? Are they going to keep Messi? Griezmann? Honestly, it's easy to say Aguero to Barca, but how can they afford him is my question. I would think Suarez before Aguero. Have you watched a lot of Suarez? Honestly, because I had this conversation with Graham Hunter last week, and I said the same to Graham. I said, do you know what, Graham, the more I'm thinking about this, I wouldn't mind Suarez back. And he said to me, look, have you watched much of him this season? He's scored goals, but Graham's right, Father Time is catching up with him, is the kindest way I can put it. We should buy a top goal scorer from a team getting relegated. I mean, would we say no to Danny Ings coming back either, if we're being really honest about this? I'm so intrigued by this transfer window. I really am, because there's so many possibilities out there for varying amounts of money. What do I think about Renato Sanchez? That's the link that just won't go away, but for some reason, at the back of my mind, I can see why Klopp thinks he could be worth the risk, if that makes sense. Like, I'll be the first to admit I haven't followed him at Lille, not at all. I haven't watched any of him playing football for Lille. My only recollection of him is breaking through at Benfica, at Bayern Munich, and the time he spent at Swansea. After that, I haven't watched any of Sanchez, but he was one of the biggest young prospects coming through, and maybe Klopp feels like he's an undervalued asset, for want of a better phrase. Would you sign Sarr? Again, I think it comes down to the same thing that happened before when we went and we did inquire about Ismaila Sarr before we signed Diogo Jota, and I think, if my memory is correct, they wanted about 45-50 million, but the problem at the time was that they wanted the majority of that up front, whereas clearly the way we structured the deals for Diogo Jota and for Thiago when they came in was that we paid, I think in Jota's case it was 9.5 million up front, and the rest over the course of his contract, and Thiago was 5 million up front and 5 million a year for the 4 years he's here. So unless something like that, a structured payment, can be figured out, I don't see a way we could go to get Ismaila Sarr. I don't think that Liverpool would put that much cash up front in the current financial climate for Sarr. But again, a player that will be linked to Liverpool, United, and probably a few others in the Premier League as well. And look, congratulations to him and Watford for coming back up as well. Should point that out. Fabinho, I don't know, is there a question there? If you're wondering about the links to Real Madrid, it's complete bullshit and you can forget about them. Would I sign Dwight Gale? Oh, he still haunts me, that fella, and about Istanbul, mate. That does still haunt me, I won't lie. Why Liverpool talking about Sancho, wrong red team? Again, Drew, get your knickers out of the twist, mate. You know, you don't own Jadon Sancho. He is a Borussia Dortmund player. He may well end up at United, just as well. He may well end up at Liverpool, and he may well end up at Chelsea. But don't be that lad, mate. Don't be that arrogant that thinks that you're just going to go and get him, like you did all last year when it didn't happen. Just wait and see. If he goes to United, he goes to United. If he goes to Chelsea, he goes to Chelsea. But it's not done, and anybody who believes it's done is only fooling themselves, because, you know, from reaching out to people quite well linked at United, I know it's not done. Ronaldo to Liverpool, absolutely never in a million years going to happen. How long away is the summer transfer window? When the league closes, so end of May, the window should be open, buddy. Andre Silva from Frankfurt, 25 goals, 6 penalties. I know, and it is a name that a lot of people have been mentioning to me, but I have genuinely not seen any links from Liverpool to Andre Silva, who stepped up there after Jovic went to Real Madrid and has really shone at Frankfurt. And but I've not seen any links, or I've not been told anything to suggest Liverpool are interested. Again, that doesn't mean we're not, just means I don't know anything. Top 5 players to sell, said Dara. Right, here we go. Origi, Shaqiri, Matip, Oxlade-Chamberlain. Do I have a fifth? I mean, I could go Harry Wilson or something, but I'm trying to think through the players that are at the team now. Well, Adrian might move on. Genie's going to move on. I don't know if I have 5 for you, mate, unless you want to include Wilson or one of the fringe players, but I think they're the 4. And again, I say Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I understand how anybody could replace him with Naby Keita and make the same arguments. I would say Adrian, his contract's up from what I believe. There is talk that he might renew for another year, but I believe his contract is up at the end of the season. But I could be wrong on that. There could be an option there for another year. Phillips will go. Yes, Graham, that's a good point, mate. Phillips will go, and I don't think he's done himself any harm this season whatsoever. I mean, we've been very fortunate that he did stick around and we didn't move him on in January, because he's been very good for us and he's done his stock no harm. So I fully believe he'll get a move, probably to a club a bit higher up in the footballing landscape than he may have done beforehand, and that's because of his good performances, and he deserves it. So wherever Nat Phillips goes, the man will have earned it. And again, he helped us out a lot this season. Would I keep Alisson? 100%. 100%. I mean, look, it's been mentally draining for everybody in COVID. It's been mentally draining for the players, the management, the staff, the fans, everyone. And add into that, of course, the sad passing of Alisson's father. So, look, of course, I'll keep Alisson. No problem. Alisson's world class. Right, what else we got? Have I seen the links to Matthias Musialowski to Dortmund? Yes, I have. And for those who aren't aware, Musialowski's the young Polish striker that we brought in, doing really well at underage level. And I don't know how much truth there is to it, but there has been some talk that if Liverpool were to go for Sancho, that they would want Musialowski as part of a deal. I can't say whether that's true or not, but it has been reported. Philip, how are you, my friend? Said Craig, since top 4 is basically done, should we try deliberately not get Europa League football and focus on the league and FA Cup next season? No, I don't think so, Philip, and here's why. Just the reason I said earlier, I don't want Europa League either, mate. And, you know, in an ideal world, I'd be with you and say, nah, forget about it. But the idea of giving players an opportunity to progress, because let's look, like Harry Kane made his mark in the Europa League. Some other players, like I think Greenwood, stood out in the Europa League as well at times for United. It may give us the platform to give the likes of Harvey Elliott, Nico Williams, younger players coming through. It might give us an option to give them a run out and see how they actually get on in a competitive environment. So only for that reason, mate, I would say no. Would I accept Sancho for Musialowski? Musialowski looks like a real good prospect, so I would want a buyback clause in there for Musialowski, or at least first refusal at a certain price. So, I don't know, man. It is hard. It's hard, and I'm glad I'm not the one having to make these decisions. Look, ladies and gents, I've got to leg it. It was just a quick one tonight, but I am going straight over to Mundo Sporto. There's a link right at the top of the chat right now. That'll bring you in the pin chat. That'll bring you over to Mundo Sporto. I'll be on there in about 8 or 9 minutes doing a watch along of Manchester City against PSG in the Champions League. A game that I'm very much looking forward to watching. I'll be back tomorrow at 7 o'clock, Thursday at 7 o'clock, again for some news shows. Anything that you want us to talk about, put it in the comment section. If you're watching this back later on, leave us a comment, and again, I'll try and get through as many things as I can. Most importantly, as always, I hope you're all safe. I hope that you're all well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video. Be well, be safe. Lots of love to you all, and up the